Closed captioning for Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by Beam Fence Company. Check them out at beamfence.com. This program is dedicated to the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces, past, present, and future. I'm Keith Warren. I'm a hunter.
What do you think of that? Look at that. Woo!
A fisherman.
2 fish on at one time? Oh my gosh!
A conservationist.
Hey, let go of that nipple. You're done. You're finished.
A family man.
Life is good. I love you, baby.
Love you too.
And I'm proud to be a deer farmer. I'm taking a road trip, and we're going behind the scenes of today's most innovative deer farmers and wildlife management operations in North America. This is Deer and Wildlife Stories. Brought to you in part by
Bruton Easy Pull Trailers,
Deer Guardian Misting Systems, Game Management Software, the North American Deer Farmers Association, Record Rack Deer Feeds, Whitetail Sales and Service, Newport Labs, Beam Fence Company,
BuckBreeders.com,
DNA Solutions and the North American Deer Registry, New Dart, Shock Effect Probiotics, and Keith Warren's Texas Hidden Springs Ranch, the best value for Texas trophy deer hunting. I want you to take a look at this deer, folks. This was a monster buck, and we found him dead. What a crying shame. But you know what? There's deer, thousands upon thousands of deer that have died across the country. People really haven't known what they've been dying from. Well, on today's show, we're going to tell you about this horrible deer disease, and we're going to tell you what's being done about it. We'll introduce you to some folks with the Texas Deer Breeders Corporation and the folks with Texas Tech University that combined, they're going to build a deer research center that's going to help us discover more about deer diseases, like the one we're going to tell you about, and how any deer enthusiasts across the country, well, they ought to be involved with this research center because, hey, we want to keep our deer healthy. Hey, we all love whitetail deer. It's the #1 most popular big game animal in the country. And whitetail deer have problems, folks. I mean, there are issues, there are diseases that go through that wind up wiping out a lot of whitetails. Wouldn't it be nice as a deer lover to know why that occurs? Is there something that we could do to prevent that from happening down the road? Well, we can. Thanks to the folks with the Texas Deer Breeders Corporation teaming up with Texas Tech University. So pay attention if you love whitetail deer, because I think you're going to learn something on today's show.
This is Chris Timmons. I'm president of Deer Breeders Corporation. As deer breeders and deer enthusiasts, research on whitetail deer is long overdue. We've needed this program for years and years, and now it's a reality, and Texas Tech's helping us make that become a reality. We're very appreciative to Texas Tech for jumping in and helping us with this program. It's not a project, this is a program. It's a long-term program to incorporate classes, hands-on experience for these young men and women coming in and educate our youth to help further this industry. And that's what every industry is all about, is the young people coming up.
Before we get into more of the details about this new facility, we want to tell you about a deer disease that'll be one of the primary research points of this new research center.
One of the main points of this program is to fight and find out more about EHD that kills more deer across America than any other disease known to man. We'll be doing tests on how to prevent EHD, how to treat for EHD environmentally, and possibly through feed, through genetics, just trying to find the answers.
EHD is scientifically called Epizootic Hemorrhagic disease. It's when an animal hemorrhages internally, and it's a bad death. I mean, it's really bad. I know lots of deer farmers that have lost a lot of deer, a lot of very expensive deer to EHD, but a lot of landowners have lost them, a lot of deer hunters. EHD is an issue that if you're a deer hunter, you need to be very concerned about it. If you're a landowner, you need to be concerned about it. It affects landowners and deer hunters and deer enthusiasts, and more importantly, it affects the whitetail deer. So the research that is being done here is going to help all the above, and especially the whitetail deer.
My name is Galen Austin. I'm with Texas Tech University at the Institute of Environmental and Human Health, and I am a senior research associate. EHD is a very serious disease that affects whitetail deer. It's not a human disease, it's not a zoonotic disease, but it is very devastating for all deer, but particularly for the deer breeders from that standpoint, because it can be devastating to a deer herd. But not only that, for deer in the wild, it is also can be devastating to the wild population from a hunter's perspective, because one year you may have a lot of whitetail deer if you have a lease or whatever, and the next year you may not. This past year, this past late summer and early fall, there's been a lot of problems with the EHD in Iowa and Montana and other places where they have found a lot of wild deer that have died from EHD. It's caused problems not only with captive deer, but also the wild deer.
Yeah, I'm Billy Sage of S&S Whitetail Galore, Logan, Ohio. The terrible thing about EHD, it does not just affect deer breeders. It affects deer hunters. It affects the economy. Some states like Missouri, the Milk River in Montana, Illinois, just devastating effects. You find so many dead deer along the rivers, and the hunting license, you can't get as many licenses, therefore you can't get as much revenue. If we can really get a handle on this EHD thing with Texas Tech, it would be a huge, huge boost for the economy all over the United States for all hunters in general.
My name is Mike Wood. I'm the owner of MADERA BONITA Ranch. I also sit on the board of the Texas Deer Association and the Deer Breeders Corporation. We lose a lot of deer every year to EHD. I'll show you this right here. This is a 198-inch yearling, the largest yearling I've ever grown, and he died this year. He died of EHD, so the more deer we can try and save, the better deer we're going to all have in the end of the game. And there's a lot of guys out there that are raising some very expensive deer, and they're losing them to EHD.
EHD, epizootic hemorrhagic disease, is the #1 killer of whitetail deer throughout the nation. In the last 3 years, we've had concurrent outbreaks where it has just devastated the whitetail deer throughout the south as well heading into the north. And it is nice to see a research center finally dedicating some time to it. That's probably not going to only benefit the whitetail deer, but it'll benefit other livestock industries as well. It's nice to see some focus on EHD because there's a misconception, I think, out there across the nation that CWD, chronic wasting disease, is actually what's killing off the whitetail deer. And with many record low numbers of whitetail deer throughout the nation, I think there's mass confusion over CWD versus EHD or blue tongue. EHD and blue tongue is the #1 killer. It's almost immeasurable because the number of deer dying from chronic wasting disease is so small compared to the huge number of deer that are dying of EHD and blue tongue.
I'm Douglas Wagner. I'm a veterinarian who works for Newport Laboratories, and my main job at Newport Laboratories is to work with veterinarians and producers in helping them to solve disease issues on cervid farms. The most prevalent pathogen that the cervid farmer is really facing at this point in time is EHD, which stands for Epizootic Hemorrhagic Disease. It is spread from animal to animal by midges. There is no spread by direct contact. It is all spread by the midge. A midge is a very small fly. A lot of people call them no-see-ums. If you look across the pasture in the evening when the sun is setting, you can see them swarming, those little teeny flies that seem to circle around. That is the midge, and that is the culprit for carrying EHD to your deer. EHD is a virus that is spread by these midges. There is no way to stop the midge from moving into your area or flying onto your farm. This disease will continue to spread as it has over the past 50 years. The other thing to know that is very important, this disease is not limited to the United States alone. This is a worldwide disease. Over the past 3 years, there have been outbreaks in other countries such as Morocco, Sudan, the European continent. This is not limited to the United States. This is a worldwide disease. There have been confirmed cases of EHD, not only in farm deer, but also in wild deer from southern U.S. all the way to Wisconsin and east to Pennsylvania and New Jersey. There are no areas at this point in time that we know of that are unaffected. So this is an incredibly prevalent disease, and it is continuing to move farther north and east year by year. Current research shows at this point in time that there is no group that is more susceptible to it than another group. It can easily affect fawns, bucks, does at any age, at any time, whether they're in the peak of health or whether they are in a challenge time such as rut. So the virus is indiscriminate and it can affect any animal at any time. When we talk about EHD, the other thing that is often said at the same time is blue tongue. And blue tongue virus and EHD are both orboviruses. They are very similar, and oftentimes you can suspect that you have an animal that is affected by EHD, and in all reality it is blue tongue. The only way to actually determine what that animal is affected by, either EHD or blue tongue, is to have testing done to determine which virus affected that animal. Severe forms of pneumonia can actually mimic and look like EHD at times. Again, the only way to determine if the animal has EHD is to test for it. The first confirmed case of EHD was in 1955, found in a white-tailed herd in New Jersey. If you look at data that was collected from 1890 up until 1955, epidemiologists have been able to link and suspect that EHD has been present, and those were the first die-offs in 1890 caused by EHD. EHD affects our cervid population, but it also affects other animals in the United States as well. In 2012 and in 2013, there were confirmed cases of EHD in cattle, in both beef animals and in dairy animals, where it did cause significant losses. This is a disease of ruminants, not just cervids. There have been no confirmed cases in humans, and at this point in time, the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, states that there is no way that the actual virus can affect humans.
EHD is considered now to be an endemic disease, and has always been really an endemic disease. The Culicoides gnat lives here in the United States and seems to be spreading its territories into different parts of the U.S. And the other part of the EHD equation is that we seem to be getting different subtypes of the serotypes of this virus. So EHD is here to stay. It continues to kill deer, and it's causing some cattle problems as well. And we have EHD type bugs that also have caused disease worldwide and have recently caused problems in Europe and Britain, also spread by Culicoides to livestock. Typical signs of EHD in deer are high fever, salivation, bleeding from underneath the skin of all their tissues, and they may have swollen eyes, edema, or swelling under the chin down through the brisket. The high fever that goes along with that typically drives the animal towards water to drink. These animals typically don't lose body condition because they don't live long enough. Typical death from a rapid infection would be 24 to 72 hours. For some of the more chronic cases, it may take a week to 10 days or more. And some of these deer that live may die later from liver injury, rumen injury, as well as sloughing their hooves.
One of the neat things about this facility here at Texas Tech is they're going to be able to do a lot more research and find out a whole lot more scientific evidence about EHD, a lot of other stuff having to do with deer. But EHD, we do know that the midge gnats live in areas where water has receded.
I had a leading authority that came out here and introduced us to the breeding areas and showed us where the EHD midge fly lies its larva and the breeding grounds for those areas. And what he did was he came into this area where it's mucky, and he took a stick and he just rolled the mud back. And then when he rolled the mud back, he said, look at the larva and you can see them squirming. And he sit there and just rolled that back, and you can see that larva in these areas that are perfect for the breeding grounds right here. And you can see that larva squirming.
Now it turns out that one of his great big yearling bucks that he had in his deer farm came down with EHD. Some of the animals with EHD we know can survive if caught early enough and treated properly.
The buck seems to have gone down well. We're going to go in down. He's got EHD. We're going to go down, give him some antibiotics, and try to get his body temperature cooled down. We just got this buck down. It's been about 12 minutes since I got a dart in him. Now what we're trying to do is get his body temperature pulled down with this ice, with EHD. We feel the main thing is to get the temperature cooled down to reduce the risk of them hemorrhaging. That's where the ice comes into play. We put one bag under the neck, one on top of the neck, trying to catch that blood flowing into the vein. And what Kevin's doing right now is checking his temperature to see where we're at. And by the sounds of that, it sounds kind of high. So we're gonna get some
157, very high.
medications in him and try to get this buck cooled off. This right here is LA200. We believe it works very well with the blood, and obviously with EHD, you're dealing with hemorrhaging. So we give a little bit of this to try to help the blood out.
This is polyserum right here that we're giving him some type of protection for pneumonia and stuff.
This right here is a vitamin B complex. We use this to give them a little boost of energy when they wake up. It just tries to keep them on feed. Vitamin B is very good for boosting that energy and making them want to eat. Right now I'm checking the temp again on this buck. We're sitting at 105.8, which is very hot for one of these animals. So what we're about to do is go ahead and give him a ice water enema and try to cool him down from the inside out. Now we're going to get a lactated ringer in this buck. With him fevering this high, we know that he's going to be getting dehydrated. This way we're going to get some fluids back in him and replenish him, hopefully make him feel a little better whenever he does wake up. We are not trying to claim that we are experts on EHD. Everybody's got their own theories and a lot of them work. This is what we've had success with, so we're going to stick with it.
EHD is a virus that affects our animals. It can cause and does lead to death. Not every animal that contracts EHD dies from it. There are treatment programs that you can start to help your animal overcome this disease.
EHD is one of the many deer diseases that will be studied in depth once the new research facility is underway. But we don't want to give you the impression that there is not any research going on right now about EHD, because there is. The folks at Newport Labs are conducting a lot of research on EHD, and they've come out with an EHD vaccine. And Dr. Douglas Wagner from Newport Labs tells us more.
There's been lots of speculation, there's been lots of different opinion on whether or not we can limit EHD in our farm deer. We have done research to, number one, show the genetic diversity within the subtypes, type 1, type 2, and type 6. And we have also done research showing where we can vaccinate our deer and they establish a titer to help limit the disease on the farm. So at this point in time, there are many different methods of trying to limit the midge, which would be controlling the environment, sprays, and so forth. But we now also have the capability of vaccinating our deer to limit the disease on the farms. When we are looking at these diseases in white-tailed deer, whether they be farm deer or wild deer, one of the most important things to remember is what we know and what we don't know. We have been doing a lot of research at Newport Labs with epizootic hemorrhagic disease. The research needs to continue not only in this disease, but in the other pathogens that affect both our wild and farm deer. Whenever any research is done at any university or any institution, it benefits everyone involved in the cervid industry, whether they are a guide for natural hunts, if you are a farmed deer raiser, or if you are simply an individual who likes to go out and enjoy watching deer in the evening in your own backyard. Trying to determine the reasons our animals succumb to disease is incredibly important. Many institutions are beginning research projects and research facilities. Texas Tech is one of those institutions, and I highly applaud them for their efforts in trying to further the education and the basic knowledge that we have in the cervid population. This mirrors what Newport Laboratories has always done and always supported, that by knowing more about a species and a disease, we can learn how to limit that disease on the farm.
Another company that is involved in researching EHD and how to prevent it is Deer Guardian Misting Systems.
I'm George Tunall. I'm the owner of Deer Guardian Misting Systems. What Deer Guardian Misting System does is that we install misting systems inside of most breeding facilities. The reason for that is because EHD has become such a very prevalent problem in the deer breeding industry that it's cost thousands and many times millions of dollars in that industry. However, we've also done a lot of research that has led us to not just believe, but exactly know how damaging EHD is on wild deer herds as well. Basically what a misting system is a perimeter control as well as an interior control that work together. We design the system in such a way that we can fog a pen with an insecticide that of course won't harm the animals, but it will eliminate the threat of the midge gnat. If the disease is there, but there's no way to carry it from deer to deer, ultimately you stop it. We have to make sure that we install a system properly, make sure that we cover all bases of a breeding facility, making sure also that we have the right amount of insecticide for whatever climate, whatever area. That's why we have full-time engineers on staff as well as entomologists, so that we can actually not just treat at the disease or treat at the problem, but come as close to eliminating the problem as possible. In most areas, we've been able to control the disease and cut it down by as much as 95%. With just treating pesticides and limited knowledge, there's really no way that we can ever really completely eliminate the disease. Because even though we have a lot of knowledge, a lot of studies that we've done, unfortunately, we still have that area missing that's absolute fact, scientific fact. And that's what we need. We need to know more about the bug, more about the disease, more about how it is controlled.
I know that a lot of folks out there may think that they're immune to having problems with wildlife diseases, but I don't think that anybody is immune. I think that when it happens, you really don't think it's happening to you. I know that EHD actually happened on my place, and when it happened, I didn't know it was EHD. We had a deer that literally, we got him on game camera a couple of times. We saw him driving around a couple of times. But he was a buck that was so sick looking, so poor, he had lost so much weight that I didn't know what was wrong with him. And so I really tried to get him out of the herd because I didn't want him to spread that. Whatever he had, I didn't want him to spread it. Well, EHD is something they're not going to spread from one animal to another. But I didn't know that the deer had EHD, so my goal was go ahead and take it out of the herd. And little did I know, after I took that deer out, I discovered that I had EHD on my place. Now about the same time, there were people that were observing deer all over the Midwest that were just in the same situation as the deer that I shot was. Very thin, acting weird, and a lot of people thought that it must be CWD because we've heard so much about CWD. But EHD, it has killed thousands upon thousands of deer. And up in the Midwest, about the same time I was having problems with EHD down in Texas, they were having problems with EHD in the Midwest.
That's a good hit. We've been seeing a lot of trail camera pictures of this buck. He's obviously very sick. We're on my farm in Kansas wanting to shoot this buck. And this is the first night that he's actually come in daylight hours. We've got him in daylight hours on the camera, but just not when we were in the stand. But you know, tonight, you know, we saw him coming across the wheat field here. Had a few turkeys behind him, which is kind of cool, and he came right in, gave me the perfect broadside. And you know, we've been talking a lot this week about EHD. I believe this deer has it. We know the Kansas deer herd has been affected by it. Although I'm not going to be able to eat this deer, this is the exact deer that we want to take out of the herd. In fact, I don't believe that this deer would have made the next cold snap that's about to hit Kansas. I mean, what a shame. And it is a magnificent buck. I mean, this EHD is no laughing matter. I mean, look at him. He's emaciated. You can see his bones. His hide is starting to molt off of him. It's just a shame. And you know, Kansas has been affected. I know a lot of your states have been affected. We need, as hunters, to work with the wildlife agencies to make sure we give them accurate counts of the deer that we see that are sick, the number of deer that we kill on our place. Boy, what a shame. But at the same token, what a buck.
My friend Tim Wells, who is host of a TV show called Relentless Pursuit, was recently in Illinois where he came across this great big buck that had died from EHD. This buck, just like what you've heard on today's show, was found dead lying next to water. He was obviously trying to reduce the fever, trying to hydrate himself, and what a shame, because what a beautiful deer.
What I think is important about whitetail deer is that anybody who is a whitetail enthusiast needs to realize that when they die in the wild, most people don't even know they died. When they die in somebody's deer pens, then obviously we know they died, and we're able to do something about it and try to be able to determine what did they die from. A lot of times when they die, we do our best at guessing what we thought they died of, but we really don't know unless we have a necropsy. And many times what happens when that necropsy comes out, they died of something other than what we thought they died of. But getting back to the deer in the wild, when deer die in the wild, most of the time nobody even knows they died until the following hunting season. The following hunting season, it's like, where did all the deer go? And that's exactly what's happened with EHD. There's a form of EHD, it's called blue tongue. It's very similar to EHD, and it's killed deer all over the Milk River in Montana. And so EHD and blue tongue is something that we need to know more about, no question about it. And we do know a lot about it, but we need to know a whole lot more. And so if you're wondering how come you're missing deer in your hunting area, odds are it's the EHD.
EHD has had horrible consequences on the white-tailed deer, especially in areas like Missouri where they know all too well. Recently I had an opportunity to go up and speak at a town hall meeting to try to tell the people what the difference between EHD and CWD was. Joining me was Dr. Steve Presley from Texas Tech University from the Deer Research Center. And together we worked to help inform those people and give them a better idea about what really did kill their deer. Was it CWD, which it wasn't, or was it EHD?
I one time was doing a video and I was talking to a guy that said something that was, I thought it was pretty harsh, and all of a sudden I thought about what he said and I thought it was absolutely the truth. He says, I don't care about what you think. And this was a very smart man. He was a scientist. He said, I don't care about what anybody thinks. I care about what they know. And the only way that you know is to know. And the scientific research that will go on here will let people know what the truth is based upon science, not about what somebody thinks.
This program that is set up between Deer Breeders Corporation and Texas Tech University, it will involve scholarships involving young men and young women through scholarships, internships, to do hands-on learning about white-tailed deer. Also in this program, we're planning on doing DNA studies, genetic studies, finding genomes that'll help us fight different diseases, not only for breeder deer, but native. It'll help the native deer also. We are planning on doing nutrition studies, and the thing is, we have based everything we know on observation, and this will be scientific fact that will help us to have proof of what is causing the diseases.
As Associate Vice Chancellor for Corporate Engagement, it's been a real pleasure and a treat to work with the Deer Breeders Corporation. This is a really exciting opportunity for Texas Tech because we're in the business of doing real research that has a public impact and that changes society and improves society, from the deer farmer to the deer hunter to the landowner, you name it, across the board. This has a great impact to improve our white-tailed deer and cervid populations because they impact other populations and they impact other industries. And as a growing industry, we want to be a part of that. And we know at Texas Tech that when we get into something and when we commit to something, we're going to carry it through. And so we look forward to working from all facets of this research opportunity to change and transform the industry for the better.
My name's Todd Anderson. I'm a professor of environmental chemistry at Texas Tech University. I'm also the chair of the Department of Environmental Toxicology. We're excited about our partnership with the Deer Breeders Corporation because it represents a research project where we can contribute to understanding and solve potential environmental problems. This is a significant issue, and so we're excited about an opportunity to help the Deer Breeders Corporation solve this issue. As a group of scientists, we pride ourselves on information gained through research and using that information to make sound decisions about the management of risks, or in this case, deer populations. We're going to have data upon which to make management decisions about deer populations, not anecdotal evidence, but sound science to base decisions. This research needs to be done on captive animals in order to have the control necessary to test these hypotheses. We're putting resources in to establish a deer herd at Texas Tech University for these purposes. We believe that the research that we're doing and the understanding that we'll get from that research will help not only the deer breeders, but also deer enthusiasts and other hunters that are interested in deer.
My specific area is in vector-borne diseases, and that's my research focus area. We're going to look at EHD, blue tongue, whatever we need to look at. I'm an entomologist by training, a medical entomologist, People have been looking at the biology of the Culicoides midge for a long time. We're going to get a little more in depth and focus on the captive deer breeding areas and look at the biology and means of controlling or managing the midge populations as a means of protecting the deer from EHD or blue tongue that's being transmitted. The captive deer farm is an ideal location to actually be able to study a contained area. You couldn't do that in nature, in wild, free-ranging deer, because they move too much. So the information we gain on an integrated vector management strategy to control the Culicoides isn't just applicable to captive deer farming, but it can be broadened and applied more broadly to free-ranging deer in the wild environment, anywhere Culicoides and white-tailed deer both occur. This isn't a short-term 1 or 2 year program. This is a research effort because of what we're looking at, what we're wanting to study. You can't just reach in and get an answer overnight. That's why we don't have all the answers yet. This is viewed, and the way we're approaching this at Texas Tech, as a long-term relationship with the cervid industry, with the white-tailed deer industry, to develop long-term answers, and that's what it takes to solve a problem like EHD, because it's taking over the continental United States anyway, as far as in cervid populations. The students that we're looking to attract to this educational component of this partnership can come from a variety of backgrounds. If it's undergraduates, if they're interested in animal science, also entomologists that are interested in a career in entomology, particularly veterinary or medical entomology, we can attract those kind of students. We'll have that type of work going on. It's a broad range of students from wildlife and natural resources. You typically think about someone wanting to look at white-tailed deer or study white-tailed deer that they might be in the wildlife program. But there's a lot of different facets to animal health, which include animal science, entomology, as well as wildlife.
Very interested and very excited about the deer program coming to Texas Tech. It's white-tailed deer I've been interested in for a very long time from a hunting perspective, but my background is animal science, and so for me it allows me to apply my education and to do research on the white-tailed deer, and interested in helping the deer breeders solve some of the problems that they have at this point. The good part about doing the research and having a deer herd to do the research on is it allows us to do research on the deer in a captive environment that we couldn't do in the wild, and therefore it allows us to find answers to issues that are problems at this point that we couldn't find with regard to doing research on wild deer. Everyone should be interested in the research that we have planned to do here at Texas Tech, because not only does it benefit the deer breeders, but some of the work that we're planning to do will extend to the wild populations as well. So everyone stands to benefit from the work that we are planning to do here at Texas Tech. The research program at Texas Tech has drawn some interest already from students that are undergraduates and are interested in the research from the genetics and nutrition side, but as well as the disease side of it. So we are becoming attractive to a lot of different students from different walks of life, particularly those that are interested in deer breeding. This is a partnership between the Deer Breeders Corporation and Texas Tech University, and we're looking forward to working as a partnership, trying to answer the questions that the deer breeders have. We have the expertise, the equipment to do the work, and deer breeders are bringing in the funding to try to fund the work so that those questions can be answered. And so we're ready to start work. We're excited about it and looking forward to it. Dr. Ernest Smith is going to be looking at antibiotics as well as anesthetics in the white-tailed deer and trying to determine eventually what the withdrawal times are for the deer for when those drugs are used in the animals.
As a part of the white-tailed deer and cervid research program, I'd like to take you through a series of labs that will be associated with the program. First, we will go to the biological molecular lab that will be doing some of the genetics and molecular work for this program. Then we will move from there to the analytical separation chemistry lab, and we will end up where the actual analysis is done in the HPLC, the high performance liquid chromatography room, and where we will confirm using what's called mass spectrometry and liquid chromatography. So those techniques will be used in different phases of the program as the research program develops, actually to train students and actually generate results and data for the whitetail deer and cervid industry.
It's been a great opportunity to work with Ernest Smith, one of our researchers from the Institute for Environmental and Human Health, and he brought this opportunity to my attention, and we've had a great time working together to bring industry together with our wonderful research that we're doing here at Texas Tech University.
This project is funded right now by donations from the Deer Breeders Corporation, through landowners, through feed companies, feeder companies, everybody that has anything to do with whitetail deer, basically. This funding is going towards our research, but it's also going to scholarships and to help this program through Texas Tech to teach our youth to where it furthers this industry. The state has allocated money to be used for research to be given to universities, and Texas Tech is one of the universities out of 7 across the United States that qualify for this money. Once we reach a certain amount of donations and we write Texas Tech a check for that amount of money, the state in turn matches up to 75% of that money. So it's very important to us right now, if you want to contribute early in the program to where we can write a larger check and get a larger matching fund from the state.
We have secured nearly $400,000 for the research program. So we've really moved along in that process of raising funds. We've got a fund set up through the Deer Breeders Corporation in a separate account where we have the nearly $400,000 sitting. We will raise more money throughout the year, and then we will present that money to Texas Tech, and then they will in turn submit a form to the state to get the funds matching done. Unfortunately, this kind of work takes money. It requires money, it requires time, and it requires dedication and commitment. We can do the time, we can do the dedication, we can do the commitment. We just need help with hunters, ranchers, and farmers across the nation to help us with finding a cure for this stuff. It truly affects every person who enjoys the outdoors.
I'm George Courtney with Brazos Valley Whitetails, Texas deer breeder, on the board of directors for the Deer Breeder Co-op. I believe not only as a deer breeder, but also as an enthusiast deer hunter for white-tailed deer and any other species in the world, this program absolutely 100% needs to be funded. We at Deer Breeder Co-op have started that effort, fundraisers in our auctions, but it's so important that this research continues and the relationship with Texas Tech on this research facility, because they are building a research facility itself, a breeding operation to do research on the deer itself, a handling facility. On their part, they are stepping up and spending their own money as well as enthusiasts and deer breeders contributing to this program. What I want people to realize is that this isn't just helping the deer breeders. This is helping the industry itself. And this research program needs help from everybody. And it doesn't benefit just us breeders. This is a huge battle that needs to be fought. And we thank Texas Tech for jumping in to fulfill this research and keep it funded. And we need help.
Not only are we in need of funds to help this project, we're in need of labor, we're in need of fencing, we're in need of T-post, pipe, feeders, feed, everything that has to do with a deer breeding facility so we can get it all constructed here at Texas Tech.
The information that is obtained from Texas Tech University right here on the whitetail deer should interest everybody. And if you'd like to become involved and actually contribute to the fund to make this a reality, I'm going to let Chris tell you how to do so.
Anybody that wants to help with this program, wants to help donate, pitch in, they can contact the Deer Breeders Corporation in Mesquite, Texas, or you can contact anyone at the Institute of Environmental and Human Health at Texas Tech University.
I'm Bill Holman with Elam Woods Whitetails in Louisiana. I'm also president of the Whitetails Louisiana organization in Louisiana. We raise deer in Louisiana almost as big as Texas. Our deer get exposed to EHD every year without missing a year. And we look forward to working with both the DBC and the folks in Texas with Texas Tech on the research for EHD prevention, and we will support them any way possible. The facility at Texas Tech could be of great value to all the deer farmers in Louisiana as well as the wild deer herd in Louisiana, simply because of the exposure. We're the first ones to get the new bugs off the southern winds. Our deer get exposed every year, so we think it'd be a great benefit to the people in Louisiana, all the deer farmers especially.
It's just been a great thing that we've been able to get together through the Deer Breeders Co-op and others to get with Texas Tech. And we decided to really go all out and support them, give some good donations. It takes money to run the church. It takes money to run research. And without this research, well, we'd just be losing thousands more deer, no doubt.
I'm Donna Boy. I'm a journalist within the whitetail deer industry, and I publish 2 newspapers within the whitetail deer industry, the Texas Breeders Gazette and the Deer Breeders Gazette. Recently, I had the pleasure of meeting with the 3 professors who are going to be actively involved in this facility. They're from the university, and I was very, very impressed with their sincerity and with their long-term goals. And once this facility is up and running, the university will continue to fund it as part of the curriculum. And I'm really excited about that. And I'd like to see funding coming from north and south on this. This is not the responsibility of one state. This is the responsibility of our entire industry.
If you're truly passionate about deer on your farm or ranch, then what Texas Tech is offering us, the research facility on EHD, will be very important. One of the common goals with any avid deer hunter is for that deer to mature. And when you have EHD repeatedly hitting your farms, that deer will never mature where you truly have that trophy. So Texas Tech is really bringing this tool together that will be very important for all deer hunters.
We know a lot about the white-tailed deer, but there's a lot that we don't know. And it's exciting to see a university like this getting involved with research at such a level. If you're a farmer, a landowner, a wildlife photographer, a hunter, anyone, any type of deer enthusiast, you should be excited about this deer research facility. I think the most beneficial part of the research at Texas Tech University isn't going to be just the EHD and blue tongue, but all the other positive things that are going to come out of this for nutrition, genetics, and many other things that affect white-tailed deer throughout the nation. It's neat to see this type of research that will hopefully take us to a level where we can get this disease behind us and move on and worry about more things like raising them babies.
This research center here is so important for any deer hunter, any deer enthusiast, any deer farmer. Whether you live in Pennsylvania or live in Mexico, it doesn't matter. If you love white-tailed deer, you ought to pay attention to what's going on here, and you ought to dig deep in your pockets and contribute to it. And the reason why is because there's going to be so much good research that is done here. It's not just about EHD, and it's not just about CWD. They're going to have students that come here, come to Texas Tech University, that are going to study, and they all love deer, and that's what's going to bring them here. But what they want to do is somebody may want to study nutrition. Well, they're going to have that program here too. Some are going to want to study genetics. They'll have that. General animal health, they're going to have that. And so this right here is a whole lot more than just studying about EHD. It's about the white-tailed deer and doing what is best to keep white-tailed deer alive all around our country.
If you love white-tailed deer, like I said before, whether you're a photographer, a landowner, a deer hunter, heck, we all love white-tailed deer, you should be involved in the research and trying to help fund the research so we can learn more about America's most popular big game animal. I'd like to encourage you to dig deep into your wallets and support this research facility because it will help everybody. If it helps a deer, it's good for everybody. Contact the website that you see on the screen right now, and they'll be happy to help you. I'm Keith Warren, and I'd like to thank you for watching this special edition of Deer and Wildlife Stories.
If you'd like to watch full episodes of our program 24/7 online in full high definition, log on to my website at deerandwildlifestories.com. There you'll find the shows, but you'll also find a lot of outtakes and behind-the-scenes videos as well. That's deerandwildlifestories.com. Reproductive services for Deer and Wildlife Stories is provided by Dr. Ray Favero's Whitetail Genetics.